Your Uncle Stavros owes $200,000 to men who don't send letters. He lost it the way men like him always lose it. The Star on weeknights, Randwick on Saturdays. Not in one catastrophic moment, but in the slow, grinding arithmetic of someone who keeps believing the next bet is the correction. By the time you understand what's happened, the debt has a face, and the face comes to your family home in Bankstown on a Tuesday afternoon while your mum is at Woolworth's. Two men. Good shoes. The kind of calm that only exists in people who have never needed to raise their voices to get what they want. They look at you, they ask how old you are. Stavros starts crying before you answer. 16, clean skin, no record, no flag, no known associates on any police database in the country. In the world these men operate in, that is worth more than money. The deal is explained in 30 seconds. You work off the debt. Your mum never finds out. You say yes because the alternative is visible on your uncle's face, and you will do anything to not become that. Stavros has a stroke 6 months later. The debt doesn't die with him. They bring you to a warehouse in Wetherill Park. Corrugated iron walls. Damp concrete that holds the cold in April like the building is trying to preserve something. Fluorescent tubes half dead overhead, the rest stuttering at a frequency that gets behind your eyes and stays there. There are 9 other boys, all broke, all hungry, all from the same band of postcodes: Bankstown, Fairfield, Maryland's, Liverpool, the suburbs that exist in the city's blind spot. You are not special. You are a type. The type this machine has been running on for decades. They start with the Glock 17, then a 12 gauge, then an SKS rifle that punches back like a closing door. By the end of the first week, your shoulder is bruised from collarbone to armpit, and you can group rounds inside a playing card at 20 meters without thinking about it. The thinking is exactly what they are training out of you. The entrance exam is not a test of skill. They put you in a van and drive to a chop shop in Villawood. Under portable work lights on a concrete floor smelling of acetylene and old blood, they show you what the business actually is underneath the money and the loyalty speeches. 12 minutes. They hand you a phone and tell you to record it. You watch without looking away because you understand in the clearest possible terms that looking away is a different kind of ending. Afterward, they look at your face and find it still. Empty. Flat. That is your qualification. Your first job is not a kill. They dress you in a DoorDash thermal bag and a cap and give you an address in Bellevue Hill, $20 million suburb where every gate has a camera and every driveway has a European car that costs more than your mum earns in 3 years. The man opens the door expecting food. He sees you, young, soft-faced, completely civilian, and his body language opens like a door itself. That relaxation, that half second of dropped guard, is the entire reason you are standing there instead of someone else. The man behind you steps around the frame and fires twice. You are already walking back to the footpath at the pace of someone who has 8 more deliveries and no time for conversation. You are paid $3,000 that afternoon. Your mum earns $280 a day. The next 6 months are corners. Liverpool, Fairfield, 12-hour shifts with a burner Nokia that gets wiped and swapped every 3 weeks. You watch for the silver Ford Rangers the Raptor squad favors, riding clean and low in suburbs where nothing else is clean or low. You watch for faces that appear twice in the same hour. You watch for the specific tension in the jaw and shoulders of someone performing relaxation, because undercover officers carry themselves like men pretending not to be ready. And once you know what that looks like, you can't unsee it. You stay awake on Red Bull and vigilance, and the knowledge that the kid who fell asleep on his shift 2 blocks over is not discussed. His absence is the lesson. After corners come the coolers, drugs, cash, weapons in sealed bags, once an esky that was too heavy and leaked something that had been cold. You are paid more for those runs. Nobody explains why. Nobody needs to. You tell your mum you got promoted at a Tier 1 construction site on the West Connects. She buys you a better lunch box. You use it to carry a handgun across 3 suburbs. You feel nothing about this that you allow yourself to examine for longer than the moment requires. Your first kill is at 18, a restaurant owner in Strathfield who stopped paying protection. You've read later, in a court transcript you weren't supposed to see, that the going rate for a job like this in Sydney at the time was around $50,000. You weren't told that. You were paid a fraction of it, and you didn't know to ask for more, and that ignorance is its own kind of tax on where you come from. They give you an NBN technician uniform, blue shirt, high-vis vest, the orange company logo reproduced with the specific care of people who understand that authenticity lives in the details nobody checks. You carry a clipboard with actual work orders on it. You walk up the man's front path at 9:15 on a Wednesday morning with the unhurried stride of someone who has a job to finish, and 6 more after it, and zero interest in anything except the signature and the next address. The neighbor on the left is gardening. She waves. You raise the clipboard. The restaurant owner opens his door mid-complaint about his internet speed. You let him talk. You ask him to sign the form. When he looks down, you shoot him twice. You walk back to the van at the same pace you arrived. You go home. You shower. You eat lunch. Your hands are steady. That is the detail that stays. This is when you discover what you actually are. You spend 3 weeks before every job the way other people study for exams. The NBN uniform needs the right boots, steel cap, work-worn, scuffed at the toe. New boots are a costume. Worn boots are a man doing a job. The clipboard needs real documents on it because the one person who actually looks will look at the paper and not your face. You learn to walk with weight, the specific flat-footed stride of someone on their feet since 6 a.m. who expects to be until 5. You research which council runs which suburb, and you never wear the wrong council's vest in the wrong postcode because someone somewhere will notice the logo before they notice the face beneath it. You walk into hospitals as a paramedic and people hold doors for you. You walk into government car parks as a council ranger and the boom gate rises. The uniform is not a disguise. It is a social contract. It says, I am expected here. And the city, which runs on people in uniforms doing work nobody wants to examine, accepts the contract without reading the fine print. People see the high-vis, they never see you. Your handler is called the clock. Every job comes with a deadline measured in minutes. Photo, address, routine, window. He doesn't ask how, he asks when. The price list is never written down. You carry it in your head. Rival syndicate member, $50,000. Informant, a rat who talked to the Raptor Squad or the AFP Strike Force, $100,000. A detective, $150,000. That last number is not a rumor. You've heard it confirmed in enough different rooms by enough different mouths that it has become a structural fact of the city you operate in. The systematic violence is documented. Between 2020 and 2023 alone, NSW police counted more than 14 organized crime shootings in Greater Sydney. 6 murders in 2023 alone, all linked to postcode wars that were never really about postcodes. You are one instrument in a machine that the state has 27 police task forces trying to dismantle and still cannot stop. One job comes across your phone, and you recognize the face in the photo. George ran a kebab shop on Hume Highway for 20 years. Knew your name before you knew his. Used to sponsor your junior footy team, printed the jerseys himself, never announced it, just showed up at preseason with a box, and his shop's name on the back in iron-on letters. He borrowed from a loan shark for his wife's treatment. Couldn't keep up with the interest. The same mathematics that pulled you in at 16 is pulling him under at 60. You drive to his shop. You park in the flickering sodium light of the car park beside the Hume Highway. The M4 hums in the distance, that low constant frequency of a motorway that never fully sleeps, the sound of a city metabolizing itself overnight. You sit in that car park for 55 minutes. You call the clock and tell him the target wasn't there. You drive away. The next morning George is gone. Someone else does the job. You never ask what happened. You never look it up. The not knowing is the only mercy available to you, and you take it. That is the only target you ever miss. You meet her at a pharmacy in Mosman. She's a nurse. She's worked Westmead Emergency long enough to recognize the callus on a trigger finger and the specific way a man positions himself facing every door in every room he enters. Second date, she asks what you do. You tell her enough. She doesn't flinch. She stitched entry wounds at 4 in the morning, and she knows what they mean, and she stays anyway. For 8 months, she is the only person in your life who looks at you without the mask. She falls asleep on your shoulder during a storm, and for a few hours the world is nothing but her breathing and rain on glass, and the specific silence of a city that doesn't know you're in it. She leaves on a Sunday with one bag, and no argument. She says every time your phone rings after midnight, she rehearses the call from the morgue. She says she loves you. She says that's why she's going. Those two things are not contradictory, and the fact that they're not is the most precise description of your life that anyone has ever given you. You are invited to meet the man they call the principal in a penthouse on the 53rd floor of a Barangaroo tower. The harbor below is so large and so lit it looks designed, like a backdrop assembled specifically to communicate that the man who owns this view owns everything beneath it. He grew up in Maryland, left school at 15, has a city councilor, 2 federal staffers, and a senior NSW police commander who return his calls before they return their supervisors. He tells you he's heard you're quiet, professional, and invisible. He wants you on his personal detail. The detail is a different world entirely. You don't go out to work anymore. You make sure no one comes in. You sit in on meetings between men whose names appear in parliamentary hearings and AFP briefings. Men who play golf on Saturdays and move product through Port Botany on Tuesdays. Men who have built legitimate lives so thoroughly ordinary that the illegitimate ones are completely undetectable. This is not an organization. It is a parallel state. It has its own courts, its own economy, its own enforcement division. It exists inside Sydney the way damp exists inside walls, present everywhere, visible only when it breaks through. The software runs permanently now. At a Bankstown RSL you map all 4 exits before you sit down. Front entrance, fire door behind the pokies, kitchen service exit, beer garden gate to the car park. You clock the unmarked silver Ford Rangers before you read the menu. On the Hume Highway you calculate, automatically, which car you would use your Hilux to T-bone to open a gap wide enough to reverse through. In a Westfield car park you identify in under 4 seconds the 3 concrete columns that would stop a pursuit vehicle. You do this the way your lungs breathe. You didn't choose the software. You installed it to survive, and there is no version of your future in which it uninstalls. You take 3 bullets across 4 years. Shoulder, ribs, left thigh. Your body is a documented map of close calls. The ribs ache when it rains. Everything aches when you remember, so you have stopped remembering as a daily practice. The way some people stop drinking deliberately, 1 hour at a time. Then you meet Zach, 17, TNs, puffer vest. Clean skin so clean it almost glows. He sits in the corner of a briefing with his hands still and his face empty and his eyes absorbing everything, and you recognize every single piece of it because you are looking at yourself from a decade ago. The same hunger, the same quality of stillness, the same willingness to trade tomorrow for the feeling of being seen by someone who matters in the world you've decided is the only world that counts. The clock starts giving him work. You watch his numbers accumulate the way yours did, in the same rhythm at the same pace. A colleague tells you across a table in a Greenacre pub, carefully, without making eye contact, that the organization has been discussing your heat-to-value ratio. You have strike force attention. You have AFP surveillance photographs placing you in 3 wrong suburbs on 3 wrong nights. Zach has none of that. Zach is what you were at 16. A clean skin in a city full of people who only value clean skins until they're not. You understand immediately what Zach is. He is not your apprentice. He is the invoice for your replacement, and his final exam might be your front door. 3 a.m. You're on the M4 westbound with the go bag on the passenger seat. 140,000 in a Kathmandu duffel, 2 fake IDs, a pistol. The motorway hums beneath you at that frequency you know in your chest now, that specific pitch of the city running at night, trucks, the odd car, the servos lit up orange in the dark at intervals like something marking a route. You pull over at Lapstone where the road starts to climb into the mountains. Fluorescent lights, the smell of petrol and cold air. You could keep driving. Victoria, a flight from Tullamarine, a new name in a suburb where nobody knows what your hands have done. You sit there for 40 minutes with your hands on the steering wheel, and you look at them, and you understand, completely and finally, that the problem has never been geography. You could drive to the edge of the continent and sit in a car at the end of the road, and your hands would still be these hands. The hands that delivered the food bag in Bellevue Hill. The hands that walked away from the kebab shop car park on the Hume Highway and left George to someone else. The hands that counted cash in a Smithfield storage facility at 3 in the morning and called it a career. You turn around, your mom's house in Kellyville, 4:30 a.m. You let yourself in with the key you've had since you were 12. The house smells like her cooking and washing powder and the specific safety of a place that has no idea what you are. Your youngest brother is asleep at the kitchen table. His head is on his HSC economics textbook. A sticky note on the front cover says Engineering, UNSW with a star beside it in blue pen. You make him a coffee. You set it next to the sticky note. You stand in the kitchen and look at him for a long time. His hands are clean. His whole future is in front of him, and it is clean, and it is real, and it costs nothing that costs anything. You funded that. The tutoring, the application fees, every bit of it paid for with money that smells like something your mom will never be close enough to identify. You are the provider. You are also the reason he needs one. Both of those things are true at the same time and will be true every morning for the rest of your life. You go to the spare room. You lie down on the bed. You keep one hand on the pistol and you listen to the suburb wake up around you, a sprinkler, a garbage truck 2 streets over, a dog, someone leaving early for a job they chose, and you think about George's jerseys. His name in iron-on letters on the back of 14 kids who never knew who paid for them. And you think about the photo on your phone right now, and what it means that Zach has it and that the clock doesn't need you anymore, and that the city you built your life inside is still out there running, processing, consuming, replacing. Borrowed days, that's what you're counting. You know 50 ways to end a life, and not one of them to actually live one. This is fiction. The machine that builds people like this is not. Between 2020 and 2023, Sydney recorded more than 14 organized crime murders. The Raptor Squad is real. Task Force Magnus is real. The encrypted ANOM phones that the AFP and FBI built themselves, that criminals paid thousands of dollars to use, are real. Operation Ironside brought down over 200 people in a single morning. And somewhere in southwest Sydney tonight, a 16-year-old with a clean record and no options is being offered a way in by a man who knows exactly what a clean skin is worth. Drop a comment if this one stayed with you. Subscribe to POV Ledger. More coming.